what we've really come to understand is it's the hand action that actually drives.
If you have good hands, you know what to do with your hands. So much works back into the body, and the golfer they're empowered when they know how to use their hands properly.
Got nice soft golf balls,
gentlemen.
So that if I do hit them, don't worry, they're not going to break any china.
Perfect.
So if you don't hear the nice compression sound, it's because I'm hitting these soft golf balls. But that getting the right grip pressure and that waggle, that really helps program the hands and arms for what's going to happen in the swing. It gives you the tempo as well as the feel for the weight of that club head. So, and being able to, as you said, Martin, being able to hold the club just slightly above the ground, just before we like to tap just at the last minute and then take the club away. But you certainly don't want to be leaving the club on the ground. You need to have live hands. You need to have control of that club right from the very beginning.
Excellent. Yeah, so, I think let's, Peter, shall we just get into what people have come for? I mean, obviously they needed to hear about the grip, which I think is fantastic. Why don't we get into the meat and potatoes of it?
Okay, so the impact zone, I think we should talk about, after all, your tour striker, you've really built a business around impact and the impact zone. So we kind of call it the moment of truth, isn't it? It's when the pedal hits the metal.
Oh, completely. So, in fact, on the wall here, I have the original Tour Striker, and if I walk up a little closer to the camera, it's hard to see, but people can see that it's a kind of a homemade event right here, homemade club where I ground off the bottom few grooves on the golf club. So that was to provide some intent. I think that the golfers that we deal with, that we help so many, have more fun hitting, compressing shots, sometimes they come at golf with a different intent. They think it's their job to, try to elevate the golf ball off the ground. Typically what we see is weight will travel back. And the funny thing is, if you educate hands properly, like this kind of behavior can't happen. The kind of behavior we're looking for, that crisply strike shots, really stems from understanding what your hands do, and it gives you this sensation of forward shaft lean and all the other functional pieces that we speak about in modern coaching these days, ground force reactions, those catchphrases. So, I think let's dig in, Peter.
Okay, well, what we'd like to share with is just a couple of conditions that the hands start in. When you take your grip, we want to start with the hands in a neutral position. We call a level or neutral position. If the thumb's pointing down, we call that uncocking, and that's what will happen through the impact zone and into follow through for your power. But you start off in neutral or level. Also, at the address position, it's very valuable to push down on the left hand. That gives you the structure in your lead arm, and it connects your left upper arm to your chest. So now when your hand moves, starting in the center, then the body turn is connected and coordinates. Whereas if I'm a little bit loosey-goosey, then I can move the arms independent. So when you take the setup, if you push down on top with the left hand, that's one of the pushes that gives you structure. And when you push with the right hand on the wrist area on the side, what will happen is you get the right elbow, it'll close in. And so this promotes both elbows pointing more downwards and not outwards. So when we start with that at address, we then can look at the difference between the address position and the actual beginning of impact. What they said about Ben Hogan and Mo Norman and Lee Trevino and Tiger Woods and a lot of the other champions is they have an area they call the impact zone. They just don't give it a quick flick. They really compress down through the golf ball. And that's what we want to share with you here, is how to cause that. So the difference between the address, which is there, and the beginning of impact, where the hands are well forward because the body's been caused to move there, then what's happened is the left hand has been pushed forward. At the beginning of impact, it's still level, but then it will uncock. The thumb will go down, and that will lead to that club shaft. From leaning this way, it'll lead to the shaft staying in line or arching this way through the ball versus that. So the most valuable part about the left hand through the ball is that the shaft should, the hand should be going thumbs down, and you feel like the last three fingers of the left hand kind of, they release, they curl this way, and that locks in. We say it uncocks and locks in the wrist. So that's the left hand function as we're coming down to the golf ball. The left hand thumb is going down and the last three fingers are curling, and that creates that forward lean of the shaft from the left hand side. So if I look at that from here, if I just a practice swing, thumbs down, and I feel the last three fingers curling, and this is the result. When you do that, the club just kind of locks in there, and I hardly have to hold on to it at all. It's never going to break down, providing you're doing thumbs down and the left hand curling. And the left hand's doing its proper job.
So there's magic in that. So most of the folks that come see me are struggling from slicing the golf ball. Or, some players can hook it too, but most come see me that are slicing the golf ball. So this event, and I hope some of you at home will get a club, and maybe you're sitting watching this, or just if you don't have a club, you can, those feels, go ahead and take a golf club, hold that golf club as though, you were really tuned into the grip segment earlier, and that sensation of uncocking the hands. If you take a look at my address position, humerus bones, arms are up on the body, back of the lead hands bent back a little bit. Well, if you uncock this condition, the club head goes down, the wrists raise a little bit, and they also flatten. That's the magic you see good players in. When you change direction, the club resists changing direction. The waggle gives you that sensation, that freedom there. But if you have to understand how to make this little behavior, and like Peter said, that sensation of uncocking and letting the back left hand that curl a little bit, that controls the club face, and you can kiss your slice goodbye. And not only that, look at the long radius created from the shoulder down to the golf club. It's so different than what we see on the lesson tee, which is this raking motion, chicken wing situation, which really takes away all the power. It cuts the radius from something long to something short. So really a lot of gold right there. I hope people really can, capture that essence you're sharing there, Peter. Good job.
Yeah, I've put on this teaching aid here. It really helps highlight that forward lean of the shaft. So when you hit the golf ball properly, if you've got a wedge in your hand, it becomes more or less an 8-iron loft.
Sure.
That's why the tour pros hit it so much further. Even though they've got a wedge in their hand, they're actually hitting it like an 8-iron. Whereas usually the person that has breakdown, their wedge becomes a sand iron, so they can't get the distance. So that left-hand function, as it comes down and through, is thumbs down and curl the last three fingers. And if I fire that towards the camera, there's address. My hands are level here. And as they come through, they're still level at the beginning, and then they uncock as they go through the impact zone, and it kind of arches up that left wrist so that you get, as Martin was saying, you get that full extension. You get that maximum swing radius, which gives you not only better compression, but more power, more club head speed.
Let me hit a little shot. Let me demonstrate here. So there's the club off the ground. Here's the waggle situation. As I hit this little strike, I couldn't have a longer radius right here. I couldn't have, hit the golf ball with any more physicality on that little shot because there is no breakdown. And so the folks out there, this stuff may seem very conscious at first, and that's how it should. It should be conscious. You should be thinking about it. It should feel like you are making a behavior with your hands. There's no question. And I'll always say to them, do you type? Do you have a typewriter? And they'll say, or do your keyboard? And they'll say, yes. Are you a good typer? Sure. Do you remember? Do you actually think about how you type? They go, no. It just kind of comes out. And you're a good typer. After tons of practice being highly conscious. Well, if you're highly conscious of these behaviors of building great hands and learning how to uncock properly and letting this curl happen, you're in control of the face. You've got a tremendous radius. And not only that, Peter, how about sharing with everybody the benefit? What what's happening to my body when I understand how to do this with my hands?
Exactly. This is part of the magic of what we basically came up with, was that with educated hands, basically you not only get educated arms, your arms are going to get the right movements, your elbows are going to stay in, especially when we talk about how the right hand works, but you'll get good structure in your arms. But on top of that, as I swing down and through, that hand action causes the shoulder to go up, it won't spin out. It causes the left leg to straighten. You'll get the feeling of the left hip really clearing through the shot, all because of this correct hand action. And of course, nowadays, everyone wants to feel the ground, so you get the ground force. So the more active I am with that uncocking action, the more I'm using the ground, so I can feel the ground. I'm pushing away from that ground, so I can get that good compression and power on the golf shot.
Completely. Great points. So neutral wrist condition, uncocking. So there's that push, the ground force reaction, the tucking of the buns, the rotating of the body, that long lever, club face control. So this little strike again, if I demonstrate, settling in with a little waggle, hitting this little stinger shot. And this is a great little, learning how to have educated hands, those little crisp shots. That's a huge part of the first part of my golf school on day one. That's a big checkbox people have to have in order to kind of move along, because you're just fooling yourself if we think we can just kind of swing a club and have success playing golf. I mean, you can whack it out there and maybe you can go shoot 120, but if you want to be a good player, the real meat and potatoes is kind of learn how to use your hands properly and build your swing back from that.
Exactly. And basically, through this building the impact zone, we can actually start and build a little chip shot, and then the pitch shot, then the full swing. So that's a great way for anyone that's starting the game. And as a golf coach, I always recommend to my students that let's start, first of all, understand the difference between the address position and the beginning of impact, and then the end of impact. But then once you can do that, let's make a little backswing and just build that impact zone. And then as I can do that, once I can do that fairly easily, and I've got some competence here, I'm not breaking down, as Martin would so ably demonstrates there. But then once you can do that, then you can just go a little further. Luckily, it's a soft ball, and I've got a good couch. That's my boomerang. I've got a boomerang couch here down in Australia. So as I go through, right back to me. See, if you hit it straight, it comes back to you.
There you go. So just along those lines, I mean, it's such a big part of understanding, getting your good hands on there, getting your arms in a position where you have this structural push, taking that push, tapping, finding that radius. And let's talk about how Peter, walk the students through the sense of how they energize this. Is it just a motion to take it away? How do we build this little event that starts the energy of a backswing?
What we've really come to understand is it's the hand action that actually drives
if you have
the life.
good